Welcome to 50 Plus in Montgomery County, a monthly program that is a voice for many, produced by the Commission on Aging, of which I am a community member. This show is insightful for people of all ages, and each episode takes a fresh look at important issues by spotlighting older adults in the community, representatives of services and programs, and activities of interest to older adults. My name is Katie Smith. On this month's show, to talk about caregiving. And here to do that with us is Ruth Kershner. Ruth is the program manager for the National Family Caregiving Support Program. And that program is under the Department of Health and Human Services, Aging and Disability Services, Area Agency on Aging. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to talk to you. Ruth, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Absolutely. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have worked for the county since 2012 in very, a lot of different programs. I started with the Ombudsman program, so I am very connected with the nursing homes, assisted living, and group homes in Montgomery County. I moved to the behavioral health program, which is all about addictions and dealing with mental health issues. And then I worked for the Services to Senior Adults program and the Adult Protective Services. I am very proud to say that in 2024, I have been promoted into the National Caregiver Support Program Manager. Before working for the county, I know you think I'm way too young to have any other experience, but before working for the county, I worked for various retirement communities. I worked at Riderwood, Vantage House, Asbury Methodist Village, and in all of them, I worked as director of social work, creating dementia care units. I have been a psychotherapist with JESSA and Aging Services Network, and I also teach for the John Hopkins Odyssey program and for the National Association of Social Workers. So I feel that all of the various experiences I've had up until this point really have highlighted and will assist and help me become the very best caregiver program manager for the county.
Wow, that's a lot of great experiences. And no, yes, I definitely thought you were younger. Oh, wow. So November, as you know, Ruth, is National Caregiver Month. Is there a theme for this year?
The theme is mental health, really. We kind of centered on that. We have two fabulous programs, which I think you're going to publicize for me. One, and they are both virtual, so you don't have to leave your house to attend. The first one is November the 13th at 1 p.m., and it's virtual. We co-sponsored it with the Alzheimer's Association. So they will give talks about how do you deal with the diagnosis of dementia and how does that impact your day-to-day living. The second one is going to be on November 20th, and we have partnered with the Sante Group, which is a counseling mental health organization. That's also going to be at 1 o'clock. Both programs will be from 1 to 2. So we are very excited to promote National Caregiving Month. It's such an important concept all year round. But in November, we will have these two very specific programs.
Mm, You're right about that. It's certainly an important concept all year round. Now, what is the National Family Caregiver Support Program that you manage? What is its purpose and how does it work?
Well, the purpose is a very easy one. It's to educate and assist all community members about illnesses that are caused and deal with dementia, and to help the caregivers negotiate caring for your loved ones every single day, 24/7. Um, our program uses multiple tools to create the educational programs. So first and foremost is our e-newsletter that's posted monthly, and you can go to Montgomery County government and hit the subscription button and get our e-newsletter, which will tell you all the different programs we hold every single month. I also do um, talks in the community. So a talk in the community can be a family unit, mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, about grandpa just now getting a diagnosis of dementia. But the talks go all the way through. Give in-services for nursing home staff. I give talks to any community group that we have in Montgomery County, as much education and information and resources that I can provide, I'm trying to do. I also attend fairs and the events in the community. And then I will also provide individual assistance to community members. So if this is a brand new experience for you, oh my gosh, my spouse just got diagnosed and the world looks like, what do I do next? You can use that 240-777-3000 number and ask for the caregiver program manager, which is me, and I will help you kind of wade through all the millions of resources and ideas and programs so that specifically your situation can be managed better.
Mm. That's interesting. You do a lot of education work, again, as you stated, in the community at different forums and events. But what's very intriguing are the one-on-one consultations that you just mentioned. That seems like it will be so helpful to many people. If you could, Ruth, can you just talk a little bit more about the types of services you provide? I know you mentioned dementia, but are there any others?
Yes, we also we do a lot of mental health. I try and do in the summers when things are slower down to do mental health series, a 4-week series for assisting caregivers. This is not for the people who have the diagnosis, but the people who are taking care of them, helping them not to get burned out, helping them to not feel frustrated. When you're living at home with somebody 24/7, it can be very depressing. So what are some ways in which we can help you still function, still be a good person for yourself, and keep going? I also do, our program also incorporates the LGBTQ community. And I'm happy to share with you this past Tuesday, we had our first annual LGBTQ plus History Month event. And
Wow.
for LGBTQ community members who were, I will say 60 and over, we interviewed them on NPR StoryCorps. And we now have an entire grouping in NPR for Montgomery County LGBTQ seniors to tell their stories, to talk about what was life growing up as a queer person. Did you have difficulties? Was it, what happened pre-marriage becoming legal and post-marriage was legal? So all these things. So we are hoping to expand that as the years go by, but it was a nice start, and we want to make sure that we provide to all community members. So we work with the African American Health Coalition, we work with the Latino Coalition, we work with the Asian Coalition, we work with the Muslim Coalition. You have a coalition, I will work with you. And again, it goes back to education, because anybody that wants me to come and speak about what are the needs of caregivers and how can we help them, I'm here, I'm your friend.
Mm.
So those are
It
some of the
seems
other pieces that we do.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of intersectionality in your work. And then also with you partnering with different organizations that already exist in the county. It'll be interesting to hear some of those stories from those in the LGBTQ community. And you also mentioned the mental health. It seems like that's a foundational piece for many people navigating if a family member and or loved one was diagnosed with something like dementia. Tell us this, Ruth. Who's eligible to
Well,
engage
before
with
we
your
get to who's
program?
eligible, I forgot one more piece. So I
Sure.
share. This is like one of the largest pieces that we do, and it's so exciting. And also for our viewers out there, if any of you would be interested in becoming a volunteer with this next piece, we'd love for you to connect with me, call me. I need the program as it stands right now, all the things that we're doing is me. So one of the goals will be to build a volunteer corps to come out and do more educational talks with my volunteers who are so far not a huge group. So I'd like to get them larger. But one of the things that a volunteer can do is provide dementia friends information sessions, which is a big part of the caregiver program. And the Dementia Friends is a global program that was developed by the Alzheimer's Association in England and is now every state in the USA does it. Montgomery County was the second region in Maryland to join the Dementia Friendly America program. There's a couple ways you can join. You can be a part of it. You can go online to dementiafriendsusa.org, and they have little videos, little vignettes that you can watch if this is a brand new answer for you that you've never ever met anybody with dementia before. It's a very nice way to introduce it. And then what we offer from the program, it's about 40 to 60-minute hour presentation. It can be on Zoom, virtual, can be in person. Either one is lovely. And again, it's an informational session from dementia friends explaining what is dementia, how can you help deal with dementia, who can you talk to, what are ways to handle it, and giving referrals.
Mm,
So I'd love to have people be a part of that. I come to any and every group, and I will share with you one of the wonderful things that came out of both the mental health groups and this dementia friends groups. One of my participants was sharing that her husband was kind of like the middle stage of dementia and they wanted to go to dinner. So she took him to dinner, and because he had dementia, he had no um, stops for what he was going to say. So, in terms of how he treated the waitress, he was rude, he was nasty, he said some comments about, like, oh my God, your glasses are the ugliest things you've ever seen. Could you not have picked a better pair? Things that if you didn't have dementia, you would never have said. And she came back to the group and she told us, she goes, I know that waitress went in the kitchen and spit in our food. She goes, "Ah." So out of that, we created, and this is available to everybody in the community.
mm,
This is a handout from the National Family Caregiver Program, and you can carry it in your purse, you can fold it, one person even laminated it. And any new place you go with your loved one, you can just rip it right off the tab and hand it like to the hostess at a restaurant, to the new receptionist at a doctor's office. And it says very simply, my companion has dementia and may need extra help. Please excuse any unusual behavior as dementia impairs memory, judgment, and social filters.
mm.
Thank you for your patience. And it's just a very nice way to share that the person you're with is impaired without making a big to-do about it.
Yeah. Wow, that seems great. I want to ask you this, and then we'll go back to the eligibility question.
No, no, no,
Um,
that's next. That's fine.
at the Commission on Aging and here with 50 plus in Montgomery County, intergenerational issues are very important to us. So for your volunteers, is there a specific age range or is it open to all people, all ages rather?
Well, with eligibility for being an interviewer, like somebody who wanted to interview the LGBTQ for StoryCorps, or if somebody feels comfortable to go out and do a talk, I don't think a high school student would want to talk to a group of, yeah, a church group. I mean, that might be a little overwhelming, but maybe somebody would love to. As long as I feel that they're trained, they are more than welcome. There is no real quote unquote age limit for that. For
Mm,
our program, the caregivers program is, we fudge it, but it's 60 and up for the most part of that you are caregiving for someone in the community. Now, the piece of this that I think is really wonderful, you are eligible to attend any and all of our programs, whether or not your person that you love, that you're caregiving, is at home,
mm,
lives at your brother's house, lives in a nursing home, lives in another state. Whatever information we can give you and resources to help that situation, you are welcome to attend any program. So as long as you're a resident of Montgomery County, you are welcome to attend and participate. If you're not a resident of Montgomery County, I have many people, because these programs are virtual. My e-newsletter is virtual. You don't have to live in the county even. I've had a lot of people come from PG, from Howard, from Frederick. The only caveat I have to that is that the resources and referrals I'm giving people are Montgomery County.
mm.
And what I will say to people that come from another county or another state is to please call your caregiver um, support manager in your county, because there is one in their county, and they can then share the information with them about specific resources that are easily available and usable in their county. So the eligibility is everyone is welcome.
Okay. You did mention the dementia support group. You mentioned mental health. Are there any other specific resources that you provide for caregivers that maybe you want to highlight as well?
Absolutely. Our goal is to reduce caregiver stress and burnout so that we want to provide them with whatever resources, referrals, education programs would be the most helpful. So the mental health does a lot of relaxation, mediation, how to handle. We also do a lot of communication tips and techniques. I'll give you an easy one.
Mhm.
I love you, Katie. You're so lovely. I'll give you a kiss. So as a kiss, if you remember this, if you're a caregiver, that you would knock every time you come in to see the person, you would introduce yourself. So think about, I can't tell you how many family members that they come in to see mom or dad and they go, "Hi, which one am I? Am I your
Mm,
oldest? Am I your favorite? What's your name?" So instead of making the person who has dementia guess, every single time you go in, you would say, "Hi, I'm Ruth. I'm your daughter." So it's
mm,
just it helps ground the person. Then you would smile. If you think about it, telemarketers always are told before they get on the phone, smile because it helps give you some, more help in terms of selling a product, maybe. But for a client, for anybody who has dementia, and for when you're dealing with stressed out family members, stressed out neighbors, if you smile, it reduces the stress, reduces your
mm,
stress, and the person connecting to you lowers their anxiety. And then the last S is state your business. Like,
mm,
"Hi, I'm here to serve you lunch. Hi, I'm here to get you dressed because we're going to the doctor." So whatever it would be. So those are like little tiny communication kit tips that we try to do with mnemonics so that it'll help people remember it um, and use it. Because it doesn't
mm,
help you at all if you can learn all these things I'm giving you and then you walk out of the room and you go, "I know Ruth said something about communication." But if I can, click it onto something, you'll really grab it and hopefully you will use it.
mm,
So in addition, you said, what other things do I refer to? So the county, we have put out from our caregiving program
mhm,
these flyers about all the different resources that you can possibly have for caregiving. And also, for example, with this one is about all the different groups of programs that we work with. There's also caregiving telehelp. So
mm,
somebody could get a phone call every day just to say, "You doing okay out there?" So there's, basic things that we do, but we also obviously do transportation, in-home aid services.
mm,
Now, my program doesn't do that. I refer you to the programs in the county that provide those services, if that's what you as a caregiver and your family member or your loved one, whoever it might be, needs. And if
mm,
I don't know the answer, I'll research it and find out for you.
mm. Those are a lot of resources, Ruth. Now, you gave us some tips, a specific tip rather, too, about how we engage our loved ones who might have dementia, and that's speaking to them in the affirmative with representation again. Hi, how are you? Great to see you. This is Katie. This is Ruth. I love you, and with the smile and all that. Now, for caregivers of all ages, from youth to grandparents, regardless of where they live, or what caregiving might look like for them and their loved ones, what are some additional best practices that you would recommend they implement? In addition to, again, not asking, "Do you remember me? Am I the favorite child? Am I number one or two?"
Right, exactly. Well, you know, we do a lot of the for example, one of the things we do is we refer also to the Alzheimer's Association because they have a 24-hour hotline. So if in the middle of the night your spouse wakes up and goes, "Oh my God, who is this sitting next to me? I don't know you. I'm going to call the police." What do you do? How do you respond to that? So sometimes, people with dementia get day and night confused. They want to eat breakfast in the middle of the night. So you would say, you could give them a cookie. You could, because hunger is in the brain, it's not necessarily in your stomach. So it
Mm,
doesn't hurt to give them something relaxing. When somebody gets agitated during the day, we talk about letting people help because one of the hardest parts of dementia is feeling useless. Your mind is going and everybody's doing for you. Your car gets taken away, you become very dependent. So to allow the person to have as much independence. So one of the things we recommend is taking, your hand towels, your washcloths, the little towels, throw them in the dryer They'll come out nice and warm and soft and ask the person if they could fold them for you. It doesn't
Mhm.
really matter if they're folded right or not, but the heat of the softness of the towels gives you a secondary benefit of calming the person, and they feel useful. So those are some of the like tips. I will also show you, I wasn't going to bring it, but I'm going to bring my kitty. So here's my kitty. She
Yeah,
looks
you
like a
can.
real cat.
Yeah.
She's wonderful for people with dementia and their caregivers because you don't have to feed Kitty. She talks. There she goes. She vibrates and purrs. She's soft. She's battery run. So it's a very easy pet to have. And oops, I got to shut her up. Yeah. But those kinds of things are all resources that I recommend and share and talk for somebody who's very agitated and needs to play with their hand, their fingers. The Fitbits, those little fidget things, are wonderful tools. We have so many tools that we can provide and share. Now, those are things, communication that I talk to you that I do, but I also send them out to the resources in the county. So, for example, I'm going to give plugs now to my counterpart. Every single resident in Montgomery County should call the County Fire and Rescue Service for the home safety check. It's a free service.
Yes.
And what they do is if you're hard of hearing, you can have neon flashing lights, not just the sound lights. And Katie, I think you're too young for this, but for those watching who might be a little older, for someone who is very hard of hearing or for deaf, they also attach shakers to the bed. So if you're asleep in the middle of the night and the fire alarm goes up, the bed shakes. I was like,
Mhm.
ooh, that's like those old motels where you used to put a quarter in the bed to shake it. But now it's the fire alarm. And these are all free services to the county. The other place we have is the gift of mobility, which is a durable medical equipment. If you need an extra, say you want to have a walker for the house, one for the car, one for your son's house, whatever it would be, these are resources you could use. I mentioned the African American Health Program. They have a specific Alzheimer's toolkit for their program, and it's absolutely wonderful. And then the last one that I want to plug, especially it for anyone living in the community, whether you're living alone and struggling to stay okay in your community, or if you're with a family, dementia is progressive. It's a disease that it is going to get worse. So if right now that person is not wandering and you say, oh, I don't need these services, you won't know a week from now the person may wander. I advocate and promote and educate preventative services. So
Mhm.
one of the ones that's really wonderful is if you go on the Montgomery County website for the police, and it's called the 9/11 script, and they set out an entire script of everything you need. You do a little headshot of the person who has the dementing illness, and you tell like what they're wearing and what weight they are, what height. Because if they walk away at 6 o'clock at night and you're calling 911 going, yes, he's he's tall. I don't know how tall. He's this tall. I mean, because you're upset, you're anxious. But if you already have it preset, the police can come to the house, they take the 911 script, they put it out everywhere, and people can be found. You've heard of the senior alerts, amber alerts, silver
Mhm.
alerts. This is one of the resources that we use. And I think anybody who's living alone or with this or living in the community with a spouse or a loved one who has dementia should pre-do this so that hopefully they'll never use it. I always talk about it as like car insurance. You want to have car insurance and you hope that you never have to use it. So a lot of the resources and benefits and assistance that I provide are things that you may never ever need. But isn't it much, magical thinking is wonderful and it's nice to have it so that that way it'll never happen. And then if it does happen, you're okay. So, because
Mhm.
I'd like to give just a little tiny plug and quilt to what I'm talking about. The World Health Organization says that by the year 2060, we'll have 13.8 million people who have Alzheimer's disease and other dementing disease.
Wow.
And the thing that I really want to stress as a caregiver support person, the studies from like the American Medical Association state that 63% of caregivers die before the individuals they care for, because the cumulative effects of physical, mental, emotional stress, alongside factors like reduced self-care and isolation from their friends because they're caring for somebody. So what we want to do, what the goal of this program really is to benefit individuals, families, and society by honoring them and their family members and helping them to have a healthy, compassionate life as they work through their process of caregiving for everyone.
Hmm. Ruth, you've given us a lot of information, and I will say I do like to plan ahead. So thank you for talking about all the different resources, and again, that people certainly have access to you. We learned about, caregiving and how as caregivers we can take care of ourselves, especially with, this month being recognized. The theme for National Caregiving Month this year is mental health, and I'm also grateful that you mentioned fire and rescue. We just had Jim Resnick on last month,
Oh,
and
we
he
love
talked
him.
about all the different resources as well. He's a true friend and partner of, again, 50 Plus in Montgomery County, as well as the Commission on Aging. You talked about your upcoming events that you're having, the one on November 13th and on the 20th. So I won't mention that because I know that'll be shown on the screen. You also mentioned that you have a newsletter that people can, sign up for. But how do we, my final question is, stay in contact with you?
Well, hopefully you're going to be posting my email. So I would love any emails from anybody in the community, please. The phone is not as good because when I'm giving talks and stuff, I turn it off. Emails am always looking at, but feel free to call me on the cell phone number, which the work number, which I think you have. And then the other way to get me, which is the easiest way, is to call the 240-777-3000 number and say, I want to talk to the caregiver, and they will funnel you right through to me. So that'll be my pleasure to meet and talk with anyone in our community who needs some help.
I'm sure people will look forward to it. Ruth, thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes our program for today. As you can see, the voices of those 50 plus matter every day and in every way. And as Ruth said, to learn more about services for seniors in Montgomery County, be they caregiving specific or otherwise, please visit the Montgomery County Seniors website by visiting montgomerycountymd.gov/senior or call the Senior Resource Line at 240-777-3000. And as always, thank you for watching 50 Plus in Montgomery County.